What's going on, y'all? This is the definitive guide to speaking with conviction. So, the first thing that we need to understand here is that speaking with conviction is about much more than just how your voice sounds. The goal is not just to sound convicted, the goal is to be convicted and then have that accurately reflected and expressed through your sound. So, one way of thinking about this is there's three types of resonances. And I don't mean literal resonances: chest resonance, pharyngeal resonance, head resonance, nasal resonance, etc. This is more figurative. So, because the sound of your voice does matter in speaking with conviction, we do have to make sure that there is resonance in the sound. Resonance is two sources creating something new. Vocally, these two sources are your vibrator and your resonator, your vocal folds or chords, as some people call them, and your resonators, which are parts of your anatomy that we can use to shape sound. And so when you have your vibrator and resonators working together, that's how we are able to use our voice to its fullest potential. We don't want any bottlenecks in our ability to spontaneously and authentically express whatever we intend. So that's the first type of resonance that I'm talking about here. The second type is the resonance of your ideas. So the resonance of your ideas is dependent on their relevance. So if you share an idea, the two sources that come together there are your thought and your voice. When you share an idea without relevance, it's going to have less resonance. Just like a voice is going to have less impact without its resonance, an idea is not going to be able to resonate unless it has relevance. And so, if we are aiming to speak with conviction, our ability to transfer that conviction is going to be determined by how clear we can make it, what's in it for our audience. People really only listen to the extent that they can understand what's in it for them. And so, the more relevance your ideas have, the more resonant they're going to be in the ears of your audience. The third type of resonance in this example is the resonance that occurs when what you are sharing and your identity meet. In other words, you can't just talk the talk, you have to walk the walk, which maybe we could think of as walk the talk. So then we have the resonance of the voice, and we have the resonance of the idea, and then we have the resonance of the life. So if our goal is to speak with conviction, and in order to not be performative about it, we don't just want to sound convicted, we want to actually be convicted. Our task is to train all of those areas. And so that is what the 7 skills of tonality does. The 7 skills of tonality is the main framework that I use to train these skills, and it's positively reflexive. So when you level up in one of them, the others are going to increase as well. The 7 skills are resonance, articulation, imagination, mindset, intention, subtext, and stakes. So in this, what we are talking about, in the 7 skills, we are talking about literal resonance as it has to do with the coordination between the parts of your voice. Beyond what I mentioned earlier, some of the specific benefits of training your vocal resonance: you can be more easily understood, be louder without shouting. You can imbue your voice with qualities and enhance its expressiveness without being performative and without sounding false or inauthentic. And it also just feels good in the same way that being as strong as you possibly can be or as fit as you possibly can be just feels good. It's how you can have a deeper, more commanding voice without sounding like you're trying too hard. It eliminates nasality from your tone, and it makes your voice nice to listen to. The second skill, articulation, there's a figurative version of that as well, which is what most people think of when they hear articulation: is how concisely are you making your point. But in this case, we're talking about literal articulation, which means the muscle memory, the coordination by which we make the sounds that form words. So, for example, somebody who has a lisp or pronounces their R's like W's, they have some inefficient articulation. When we train this literal articulation, that allows for us to carry our resonance throughout a word, through the consonants, because sound travels on vowels, and vowel shapes and tuning is what we build the skill of resonance on. It's how we organize and coordinate the voice's sound. Training in proper articulation allows for you to carry that resonance through consonants. So when you combine these two skills, one of the things that you are able to do is have this continuity of sound through and between words. If you don't have this, then you are going to kind of speak like this. This puts your listeners at ease, and it also adds elegance to your sound. Because you have increased control over how you are making these sounds, you're going to be able to be more expressive with the way that you speak. Monotone is just a failure on the speaker's part to lead the attention of the listener. When you have both more awareness and more control over the way that you are making sounds, you are not condemned to being monotone forever. It means that you just have more tools at your disposal for how you want to direct the listener's attention in a way that feels authentic to you. Imagination in this case is the mental mapping of the sensations that we experience when we are tapping into different resonances and articulating in a certain way, aka how we know we are doing it right. In the same way that I know if I'm doing incline dumbbell bench, my form is perfect. My form is exactly what I'm going for, even without looking at a video. The same is true for how we use our voice. But when it comes to speaking with conviction, it's going to be skills 4 through 7 that are really going to move the needle. And these are the soft skills, the less tangible ones. Mindset being the transcription of the dialogue that's running in your brain. It's going to be hard for you to speak with conviction if your mindset is something along the lines of, nobody wants to hear what I have to say anyway. I'll bet these people hate the sound of my voice. I hate the sound of my voice. I always sound so dumb when I talk, or this idea is dumb. Anything that's negative and limited, you've got to remove from your mindset. If you want to speak better, start by speaking to yourself better. You think a deeply convicted person is telling themselves that they don't have anything to say? And that nobody wants to hear their voice? And that their voice sucks? Absolutely not. The fifth of the 7 skills, intention, is where the ideas can start resonating. Intention, there are 2 parts. There's the micro and the macro. Micro intention is the specific action that you want to be taken at the end of any interaction. And the macro intention is why you are communicating. When most people communicate, they're doing so in order to be validated. This is one of the reasons why people wait to respond instead of listening to understand, because they're there for themselves and aren't looking to help. So if you can shift your intention when you are speaking from I want to be validated to I'm speaking only so that others will win and not because I need to be validated, that primes your mind to start thinking about what's in it for my audience. Why should they care? If you don't have these 2 skills dialed in, your subconscious, your self-talk, your internal identity are going to be totally incongruent on totally different frequencies than your resonant voice and ideas. This is what makes people go, something's off about this speaker, this guy, this woman. I don't trust them. It's gonna come through in your perfectly optimized and resonant voice and idea. Skilling up in these 2 areas forces you to step back to do battle with your ego and remove yourself from the equation. So yes, they help your voice be more resonant and they help your ideas be more resonant, but they also help you listen better and be more present. Because if you are aiming to be of service, you're not going to let your mind wander during a conversation because that would be rude. And because it means that you're going to miss important information. And the convicted speaker, at least the one whom people are willing to be led by, you could have lots of conviction with nobody following you. But if you're watching this, I don't think that's what you're going for. That individual is telling themselves a winning story. They're talking to themselves like a champion. That doesn't mean that they are getting high on their own supply, so to speak, and absolving themselves of accountability or lowering their own standards. It just means, if nothing else, that they're not telling themselves that they can't do it. Subtext, the 6th skill, is what's said without being said. Think about this like an implied question. If somebody says, "Hey, Michael," what do I think they're going to say after that? It sounds like I'm about to get invited somewhere. But if somebody says, "Hey, Michael," that sounds like there's about to be perhaps an unpleasant interaction. So the more clearly you are able to identify how you feel about a topic and how you want us to feel about a topic and how you feel about yourself delivering that message, the more powerful and clear your subtext can be. you're going to have a hard time leading people if you can't get them to feel something. Since you can only know people to the extent to which you know yourself, how are you going to be able to get people to feel anything if you are totally closed off from your own emotions and your own emotional world? Being emotionally expressive does not mean losing emotional control. Getting clear on what you feel and channeling that into your sound when you're speaking just gives your listeners so much more to savor in your message. The seventh of the 7 skills of tonality is the skill of stakes. That just means what it costs for your micro intention to not be achieved. The way that we build this skill is by exploring what it feels like and what it sounds like, what happens for you and for your voice as the stakes get raised or lowered. Think about whatever it is you are communicating, and then think about how you would communicate that differently if the stakes were eternal, not just life or death, but eternal damnation or salvation for you and everyone that you loved. That's the highest level of stakes. And so once you can explore those edges, then you can find the nice middle ground that allows you to be emotionally expressive without being out of emotional control. Once you hit a certain level of proficiency in all of the 7 skills of tonality, you get what I call the high energy voice. It signals competence, it signals confidence, it signals engagement and interest in the moment and the conversation, detachment without disassociation, which when you combine all of those is effectively the sound of professionalism, and it's adaptable and non-performative. So the high energy voice is a prerequisite to speaking with conviction, because conviction is a set of deeply held beliefs. Speaking with the high energy voice is the oral equivalent of dressing well. It's a form of respect. Training each of the 7 skills helps you to identify what beliefs you do strongly hold and then stress test them, which leads to them either changing or becoming stronger. So really the whole system is designed to turn you into the world's most convicted speaker, because it tests and builds not only your actual convictions, but the most impactful ways of expressing them. So if you want to get to work on speaking with conviction for either yourself or your team, reach out to me and let's talk about working one-to-one. All right, y'all. Hope this was helpful for you. Find your voice, unleash your voice, go forth and speak boldly.